Welcome to the Real Freedom Podcast, where we inspire you to pursue your passion to gain time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. Let's get some real freedom together. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Real Freedom Show, where we talk about building wealth, gaining time and financial freedom through different opportunities in real estate. And I'm so excited today because we're going to talk about balancing real estate, balancing life, and balancing being a mom. And so we've got the Investor Mama right here, Jen Narciso. Jen and her husband have together between them 3 properties, 2 duplexes and a single family home. They also have 2 kids, ages 6 and 3. And so we're just going to talk about balancing life as life changes, as different things happen. And so she's really passionate about helping moms with finances, kind of just talking about balancing the financial side of life as well. And so we've got a lot of cool stuff to get to. Welcome, Jen, to the show. We're so excited to have you.
Mike, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor and pleasure to be on. So I'm really excited about today's conversation.
Share a little bit about your background, kind of a little bit about life and how it's led to where you're at today, and we'll dig in from there.
Awesome. So yeah, as you said, I'm a mom of 2. My husband and I first got started in the real estate world in about 2013, where we bought our first home out of college. We weren't yet married, but I don't know, probably things I wouldn't recommend other people do, we did, but that's just our story. Is I said, okay, let's just buy a house together. And when most of our friends were buying the dream home, quote unquote, because we live in a very high cost of living area. So even in 2013, when the market pretty much had just crashed, it was still, $300,000-$400,000 people were spending on their single family. And I said to my husband, like, this sounds wrong. We can't do this. This doesn't make sense to me. And I literally kind of had the rich dad, poor dad story play out for us. I was working, I had two of my friends' fathers. One was an attorney and one was an accountant. And the one guy literally would justify working super late because he didn't have to commute into the city. And so he could stay at the office later because that would be his commute time. And then the attorney, my friend's father, he'd go into work like noon, 1 o'clock, because he owned the building that the other attorneys also worked in. And so he had used real estate as a leverage to then catapult. So I knew real estate was something I wanted to do. And he actually recommended I go read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so right out of college, I said, let's just buy a property. He's like, we're not even married. I'm like, all right, whatever. We'll just do it. And so we bought our first duplex. At the time, it was like $200 and something thousand, which now the value's over 5. So we over doubled what we bought. And we lived in one unit and rented out the other. We had no idea what we were doing, but we just did it. And it was amazing because that then allowed us to save significantly because our housing, it wasn't completely covered because we still lived in a high cost of living area. And even at that time, for our income right out of college, we weren't making that much. But it allowed us to save a lot, which then allowed us to get the next one and so forth. So that's how we began.
And then in the meantime, you had kids along the way and introduced them as you were continuing to add more properties. So talk about kind of how that grew into the other 2 properties that you had.
Sure. So we had our first one in that same duplex. And we ended up, so the first unit we were living in was the 1 bedroom. Then we moved upstairs to 2 bedroom. And then we realized we had nowhere to move. So we said, let's just repeat the process. And so we took out, we got very lucky with our real estate. At the time, rates were super low. So we refinanced, took out the down payment then for the next one. And we bought another duplex while I was pregnant. It was literally the day I delivered was going to be the day we closed on the house. And this was going to be a bigger project, though. This was an even nicer area. And it was going to be a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. We were going to build another bedroom and close a porch. So we were going to make it a 2-1. And then upstairs was a 5 bedroom. So we went from a 1-1 and a 2-1 to 2-1 and a 5-3, this was a big leap. And so we ended up getting a FHA 203K loan so that we were able to pay. I think we spent over $120,000 on rehab to fix it up, make it look really nice. So we fixed up the upstairs unit as the 5-bed, 3-bath. And then the downstairs, like I said, we built an addition. So that was able to get us a lot more rent, making it a 2-bedroom, 1 full bath. And we were able to then also live there because it was more square footage than our prior one. So we did the renovation with our now 6-year-old at the time and when I was pregnant, and I learned a lot. It was amazing, and I'm so glad we did it. So we house hacked again that point, and then from there, I was pregnant again, a third time, and I was like, okay, now we need, we got to figure out what the next plan is. And this was in 2020, right when COVID was about to hit, and I said, all right, we wanted to house tech again a third time, but we figured if the housing market's going to kind of stabilize right now, we really need to buy our single family, because afterwards everyone from the city was going to be moving into our area. So we said, let's just jump in the single family route. And so literally April of 2020, we went around to another really high cost of living area and just lowballed people. We just threw out multiple offers, lowballing people, and we got one accepted. And that's how we got into our single family, which also has appreciated. It's almost doubled since 2020. And now we're on to the next one.
Yeah. So now you've got 2 duplexes that you've bought, cashed out. We're able to use those finances to buy the next one. And so now you're collecting rent from 4 different people in addition to the house that you're fixing up and eventually sell at some point in the future, or just hang on to depending on the strategy. But that's an awesome story. And I think it sounds simple, and yet so many people aren't willing to do that work and make that leap or take that risk. Like you said, you did something crazy that not a lot of other people did, and bought that duplex. And so you took that risk, and that's what differentiates you from the people that haven't invested yet, is making the leap. Right. And that's why a big part of, what I talk about is overcoming barriers, because at some point, to go from no units to having units, you have to make that leap. And I think that's what hangs a lot of people up, and you were willing to make the leap. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. And I will say, like, kids were our reason, not our distraction, or our reason not to, I should say. So we did construction with kids. We lived with other families, and there's pros and cons to everything in life. So you could live in a single family home and not know your neighbors, just like once you move into a home, or you can move to a duplex or a triplex and pick your tenants, kind of thing, So it's just like, there's always, for every con there's always a pro. Like our kids, we just actually had to turn over one of our units. Our kids came with us as we did the walkthrough. And as the tenants were moving out, we did our final walkthrough, we inspected, we had the new tenants coming in, we collected the rents. And my 3-year-old asked a lot of great questions of like, is this our house? Do we own this? Who are these people? Like all these great things that as our kids get older, we're using these also to teach them. Like, this is how we take care of our properties. This is what we look for when we buy properties. This is how we screen tenants. This is how it works. This is how we collect our money and all this stuff, so that when they're older, now they have a really strong foundation to then take the leap and do it themselves.
For some people, I've heard different strategies of, pick a property for each kid. The rents that come in could potentially be helping to pay for school loans in college, or, maybe that's a property that eventually sometime in the future they get. And yeah, they get to see you working at that, getting experience in real estate. So then it's not as scary when they decide whether or not they want to participate. Like I think about my 3 boys. I'm certainly not expecting them to want to do real estate, but they've been around it. They've seen it. My son's gone on some tours with me that I do with investor clients, or walkthroughs or inspections and things like that. And so, yeah, it's just getting them experience. And then I've also interviewed a few people on this podcast where it's because their parents invested in real estate that's how they got their start. And so they're like, yeah, I want to do this. I saw how this helped my family, and I want to go do it too. And so it's just exposing them, right? If they want to do it, great. If not, that's okay. But at some point they'll know the lessons that they've learned from watching you guys do this.
Yeah, 1,000%. The other thing too is, because of the properties we've had, we've been able to catapult our wealth significantly. And the other thing, as a mom too, I feel very obligated. Like, I do not want to be a burden onto my kids. And so if nothing else, at least I know that my husband and I are taken care of, that when our kids get older, they don't have to worry about us. Like, they don't have to worry about long-term care for plans. Like, we've already picked out our plots, like everything is done. So that all they need to worry about is that if they get, like we're, have the 529s and all the stuff for them, but that they could at least start at zero or even negative, but don't have to then worry about us on top of that. Cause I find so many of my friends don't have their own financial house in order. And then it's like, well, who's going to take care of you? Now you're putting the burden on the kids. Like, it may be great that their college has some money towards it, but if your retirement's not, then you're going to have a significant burden on your kids. And do you really want that? And most people, I would say, don't. So using real estate as that vehicle too, you don't need to own 1 million units. You can just own a couple in a great area. And then you just have options. Like you said, it could be for cash flow. You can, hand it off to your kids, or you can sell it and use the proceeds to go to the, like, but if you have nothing, then you have no options.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I like to lift up for people is, if you put all your money into a 401k or into a retirement plan, the strategy once you retire is you go conservative, and now you're just pulling from that pot until eventually you've used it all or you've died. Like, those are kind of the two options. And so here with real estate, you can continue to have that. You'll continue to have rents coming in. You'll continue to have appreciation. You can continue to purchase more properties as those opportunities grow, doing cash out refis or different things like that. And so instead of your retirement years kind of being skimping and figuring out, like, am I going to outlive my savings? Now you just know that that's continuing to come in and grow. And so I was excited. We just had a closing last week of somebody that used a self-directed IRA to purchase. They just retired and used part of their funds to purchase an apartment building with some commercial space. And so they're excited about that opportunity. This is their first real estate purchase, and it's
That's
right
awesome.
after they retired, and they're excited about seeing their wealth grow versus, hey, now we got to turn it conservative because we don't know what the stock market's going to do. And so we'll just see. Like, those are those opportunities. Once again, it's choice, right? You have the choice to do that based on the decisions that you've made today.
Yeah, I remember, so the quote unquote rich dad I had kind of mentoring me when I was younger, he always said, like, you want your ladies, you have leverage, appreciation, depreciation, income, equity, and I think it was savings. And with that, real estate allows you can make money multiple ways. So whether you get a little bit of cash flow, or you have a little bit of equity, or you can leverage other people's monies and not put so much down, there's just so many wealth generators through it that, like, even look, nothing's a guarantee in life, and anything can go wrong, but your stock market could drop 50% right before you go to retire, versus at least, real estate market may be down, but you could, like, if you've held it for a while, you maybe it's paid off, or maybe you're close to, like, you just have so many more things that you can do and that you control, and you're not then waiting on this mystery fund to just all of a sudden pay you. Like you said, it turns conservative when you're older. I'm all about optionality, and real estate is like the best way to get that.
So Jen, what would you say to people? Because I know there's a lot of people that would be like, yeah, but Jen, you did that right when you guys got married. I'm already married. I already have kids, like, we're already 15, 20 years down the road. So now I can't do that because, I'm not in your spot when you made those decisions to buy those investment properties.
So there's two things. There's the people who are like, okay, how can I get creative? Because if someone really wants it bad enough, they'll figure it out. And so I always tell people first, like, look at your own home. Is there a way to maybe space off an area where you can maybe not do full-time rental, but Airbnb part of your house, or do like midterm rentals, like maybe you're renting to nurses or something, just to kind of get your feet wet and see how you like it. It's still, I know it's still a lot, especially if you have kids, to do something like that when you're not used to living with people. But if you really want to change your life, you have to change your life, so that would be my first thing. If that's really not on the table, I would look at, okay, what are some other strategies I can still use to maybe get my feet wet? So maybe if you have in your primary residence, you built up some equity, maybe now rates are higher, you don't want to refinance, but take out a HELOC and go for a second home, because you could put down 10% and maybe go the Airbnb route. So it's another way you can start getting your feet wet with real estate. Or maybe you save up for, if you want to save up for 20%, invest. I feel like we live in a high cost of living area, so you're looking at another state and saving 20%, in out west is very different than saving 20% on the coast. So that's another way you can use it. Look into, like you said, the self-directed IRAs. See what's in your retirement accounts already if you don't have the money for the down payment. Or if you want to be ambitious and maybe you just have a nest egg sitting in a brokerage account, use that money to get into and pick your poison. Really, there's so many avenues of real estate. My biggest recommendation though is just find something that kind of feels good to you and then just pick one of them. So if you want to start with your house, start with your house and then just learn everything you need to know about short-term rentals or mid-term rentals and how you can convert your house and what systems you want to get in place for turnover and all that. Or if you want to go the long-term route, figure out how are you going to get the money if you don't have the money, where do you want to invest, all those things, but just pick one thing and then just educate yourself, surround yourself with great people who've already done it, and then take the leap into it.
I think about the analogy. So this weekend we were out with our kids and we went to an escape room. And so it's something that they've done maybe in the last 6 months that they've really started to enjoy now that our youngest is getting old enough. And so we did this escape room, right? And for those of you that haven't done it before, you start in this room and you start looking for clues. And so it's, does this mean anything over here? Does that mean anything over here? What about this thing? And then once you find a clue, then another clue presents itself. And then you continue to solve that puzzle. And so I think for so many people investing, they maybe just automatically discount themselves or just say, hey, I can't do it. And like you said, you presented a few good options and there's people out there that be like, yeah, well, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. I can't do that. But what if you take a curious approach of what would be the way that I could get started? And you just start asking questions. I've often given people advice of lending. They're like, well, I don't have the money right now. And I said, why don't you go talk to a lender and say, this is maybe the type of property I would be looking towards. What would I have to do to make that happen? Work backwards from there. Give me the puzzle pieces and I can start to put it together. And then I know how much I have to save and we can set a goal. Or maybe I find somebody that's willing to lend if the numbers made sense. And so you have to kind of work backwards from that, but you can't say, well, this won't work for me. This won't work in my situation. Think about it as that escape room analogy. I'm just looking for clues to figure out what my next step's going to be. And once I get those clues figured out, then I'm good and I can move on to the next step.
I love that. Like I said, there's always a reason to do something and always a reason not to do something. So for the same reason of why you say that you're not going to could be the same reason why someone else does. So I love that analogy of finding the clues because maybe you like getting creative and doing like home design. A friend of mine, she's Whitney Hansen, the host of the Money Nerds podcast. She's literally creating a potted plant home because she just came up with the idea. And so she got funding for it because it was cool. And she's Airbnb, I forgot where it's located. It's like out Midwest, but it's going to look like a pot. It is so creative and she's doing it. Like she figured out a way and she did it. So maybe if that's like your avenue, like go that route, like use, I like the idea of like using clues. So like find out also like what you're interested in and what you enjoy doing. And maybe there's a way you can still kind of monetize that using real estate as a vehicle to just live like a more optionality life,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, you don't have to necessarily retire from your real estate holdings yet. Yeah. It could just be, hey, this takes care of the car payment or this takes care of food or something like that. How for you guys kind of expense wise, the income that you have coming in from your rentals kind of budget wise, I'm just kind of curious, like what is that? What difference does that make in your financial situation in terms of income coming in? Like what's that covering for you guys?
So for us, it's kind of twofold. So one, it's really kind of allowed me not to have to work full time anymore, because we still save, like I'm still a crazy saver. We still save like 30% of our income, but even still saving 30% of the income with that money from real estate, like I still need to work a little bit, but I don't really have to work, It's more of like, yeah, like we would love to build an addition on our home or we still travel, like we still live a great life, but it just gave me so much more options now, fast forward, that I don't necessarily want to work the W-2. I don't have to. With that being said, because we do save so much, that money really does just kind of go right into our brokerage, because then I want to use that then to fund our next investment. So even though we have that gap, I don't use that gap, but I could use that gap. So again, it just created more options for me. Either I don't work or I work, and then the money just goes into funneling for the next one.
Yeah. More freedom and flexibility.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't need to have a lot of properties. Like we just like bought in that very high cost of living area that the equity alone appreciated. And because we, just held them for so long too, the cash flow now is great. And once these houses are paid off, it's going to cover. So my goal was really looking at these is that once these houses were paid off, could they cover our monthly expenses? And we're pretty much already there right now that if once these mortgages are covered, we could live for free. And that's not even then factoring into our, retirement accounts and all that stuff. But I still like the idea of one for like each kid and one for us. I really want to have like five houses.
So talk about Investor Mama, your website, your podcast. How did that come to be? How did that idea start, and where is it going, and what's your passion with that?
Sure. So I did launch the Investor Mama podcast, Money Conversations with a Mom's Touch. And the goal is to really educate, motivate, and inspire moms on their money journey because I kind of like, we've been just kind of, plowing ahead with financially, with real estate and with our money and all this stuff. And we kind of just lifted our head out of the sand once we started having kids, and all these other moms were like, what are you doing? A lot of my friends. And I realized that a lot of them had no idea what their money was even like. And they would keep coming to me for advice. And I love listening to different podcasts, the Bigger Pockets and Choose Fi. I was like, why don't I just do a podcast? And I was pregnant again at the time and I needed a distraction. And so I launched Investor Mama, and I've absolutely loved it. I met some amazing people literally all over the world. And I interview moms like on their debt stories or just financial advice or tips, or moms who are just, whether they own a small business or they own real estate, how they do that, but also with the lens of being a mom, because once you're a mom, everything changes. Like even for us with real estate, house hacking with kids and house hacking without kids is just a very different experience. And same thing, like having a business or having anything. And so I just want to provide more stories and more motivation for moms to know that wherever they are in their money journey, that they can get to wherever it is they want. They just, need help. And like, there's a community of other moms out there that are all in the same boat, trying to row the same way. And so that's how Investor Mama got started.
Well, it's awesome because, moms need community, moms need inspiration, and raising kids is a challenge. Like my wife is fortunate to have 3 days a week in the, where she gets to spend time with the kids. And especially in the summer, now that they're off, like she can go to the park and do stuff, or she can take them places or run the errands that she needs to, and then balance her job as well. And so, yeah, it's a challenge. And I love that you have a great example that you can share with people and you can help inspire them.
Yeah. And even for making the leap out of a W-2 into like a business or whatever, it's very hard for moms, and just kind of overcoming the mental obstacles, or whether they want to stay at home or work. There's just so much also mental things that moms have to deal with. And also like dealing with aging parents, and then like being the sandwich generation. I know it kind of both spouses, but typically things fall harder on the mom, or like postpartum depression and dealing with finances and like therapy and all that kind of stuff. So there was really also in the financial space, I felt like there was just also a lack of having these real conversations, and having a safe space for moms to also share all their concerns and fears and all of that. And then you throw money on top of that. It's just, yeah, just to really create community for people to kind of come together and share different issues and things like that.
For sure. Cause yeah, money drives those conversations in terms of what work am I doing? What am I getting paid? What time do I then have available with the kids? Some moms love homeschooling their kids. And then with that comes different issues that come up because you're with your kids, you're balancing crazy schedules. There's just so much to juggle. And so having that community is a huge help.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. Even the cost of having kids is significant for some people, and how to deal with that. So yeah, there's just so many things that I feel like as a mom, at least for me, even too, that it's kind of like pushed under the rug, and I wanted to bring a light to a lot of the different issues that
I remember I saw a video within the last couple of weeks where somebody was talking about earning 6 figures. And so a lot of people, right, it's kind of like, oh, if I could just earn 6 figures, then I'm good. And it was a young single person was questioning that because somebody had brought up like 6 figures, when you have a family, doesn't go as far as you think it does. And so this
not if
single
you live in the
person,
Northeast.
right. And so this single person in the video, like it was on TikTok, and they had, stitched it or duetted it or whatever. And they're like, kind of looked like, are you kidding me? Like 6 figures is a ton of money. And I wanted to comment and be like, just insurance on my children, like that was the big thing for me, because I worked at a nonprofit for 10 years and my wife was, still working part-time. And I remember from kid 1 to kid 2 to kid 3, and I was like, holy cow, this insurance is no joke.
Yep.
And then, what's not covered with insurance. And then you've got, we went to the dentist and we just dropped, a few $100 because there was additional things that weren't covered. And so now my other 2 kids are going to the dentist this coming, in the next couple of weeks. And you've got glasses for one, and you've got, all these things really add up. And so you've got to be on your game financially to be able to not only just survive, but have the wherewithal to look at, what do I want my future to be? To get my head above the clouds and think, how can I plan for my future to where it's not just kind of survive paycheck to paycheck, or just try to get through each day and each week financially.
Oh yeah, 1000%. And that brings up a really good point of surviving and thriving. Like for my kids to go to camp that we have with our values, it's like $4,600 for 4 weeks per kid versus our town camps, $1,000. Okay, for 6 weeks. So significant difference. But I will say that when my daughter came home from the town camp, I was just talking to my husband about this. Her attitude, she's 6 years old. And like the things she came home saying within 4 weeks, I could not believe like what the environment created for her. She's asking me these questions. I'm like, you are 6, you are not 13. Like, where are you even hearing this stuff from? And now she's back at the other camp. That's the $4,000 one. And she's starting to like get back to herself. But I want to be able to provide for my kids too. Like, I don't want them just to survive. I want to have them go where I want to teach them how to, like, our values and what we believe in and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to just have to settle because, we don't have the money to do it. And I know we're in a very privileged position now. It was because the real estate allows us now to make different decisions. And that's also why I'm so passionate about it too, because without real estate, there's no way we would have even been here. Because even if we were saving into the, the 401ks and all that, to have the money like liquid that we can actually touch, I can sell a house. Like, I know, like, I don't have to worry as much than just like a 401k kind of in this, the metaverse kind of thing. Like, it's just in this weird, don't touch for another 20 years, but having that money also so fungible and so real, and we're able to touch it and hold it. That gave us a lot more power to make different financial decisions. And like, we're still figuring out camp because it is super expensive, and $4,000 I'm struggling with. Oh, there's other ways we can do things. But again, it's just being able to have that kind of comfort level that now allows us to make so many more different choices that I didn't even think I would care about a couple of years ago. And now I realize I do really care about.
Thinking about the lessons that the kids are learning about money. That's something that I've been a lot more conscious of is, how we talk about money. I was raised growing up like, okay, we can't afford this, and money is treated as kind of the scarce thing, and to realize that there is an abundance out there of money. And so what lessons are you teaching your kid? And so I'm going through a coaching program, kind of a mindset coaching program. And just last week, they talked about, the thinking mind can process 40 bits of information per second. And they said that the unconscious mind can process 4 million bits of information per second. So all these like conscious thoughts I have about money, or how I was raised, or what I'm thinking about, like you said, what are your kids going to now think about investing in real estate, or planning and budgeting and handling money? All these things we're teaching them consciously, but there's all these things that are happening unconsciously that are developing their conscious thoughts. And so it's really important to think about what you're thinking about.
Yeah. And we kind of control that for our kids when they're so young too. We want to put them in the best environment to grow and to thrive and to be where they will learn concepts about money. And money's okay. It's not something scary. We talk about money in our house all the time. And I know a lot of my friends don't. I said, why not? They're like, oh, I don't know. We just never did as a kid. I'm like, well, look where you are now. Don't you want to talk about it in front of your kids? Like, we have major money discussions with our kids or family meetings when we're going to make a big purchase. We include them in all that. I know they're young, but they're still, it's all about absorption.
Yeah, in our household, one thing we talk about is when the kids want something or, ask about something or whatever it is, we say, look, like we probably can pay for that. We probably do have the money for that. That doesn't mean we're just going to buy everything and anything that we want, because we also have to pay for food. We also have to pay for housing. We also have to pay for insurance. And so, yes, this thing that you want, us saying no doesn't mean that it's because we don't have the money for it. It's because we're choosing to spend it in other areas and prioritizing different things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's giving them more of the full picture, because they could care less about the housing expenses, the insurance expenses, car expenses, whatever it may be. They're just thinking about the thing that they want. But hopefully, yeah, you're planting some of these seeds for the future where they realize, yes, I can buy these things. That doesn't mean that I'm going to, because money has to get allocated in other places.
Yeah, and I did a great episode with Dee from Money Kids Academy, and it was really cool. Like, I need to start this with my kids. I want to wait till my youngest is a little bit older, but really even teaching the kids how to manage their own money at a young age too works wonders. So like, just letting them make whatever money decisions they want, but let them fail when they're 7, then when they're 17 and they're now going to college and have to manage money for the first time and have no idea what to do with it. But if you start them young and they're like just learning, I should be saving, a bucket for saving, a bucket for investing, a bucket for charity, or, so forth. Now you're giving them complete control. And then also, money is not a big deal. Like if they get money, it's not like such a big deal. They just know what to do with it because they've been taught at such a young age to just how to think about it. And then once they make a money decision, and like if they want to spend it on candy or whatever, that's fine, as long as they take it from that. And then, again, lessons learned that they have to go through, but I'm all about also starting young, as young as possible.
We just started this last week where, we've got 3 boys. And so, a big thing with having 3 boys in a row is, there's a lot of clothes, toys, stuff that's accumulated, because it's like, well, we'll save this for the next one, save this for the next one. Well, now that our 5-year-old's getting old enough, a lot of the smaller toys or the bikes or different things like that have accumulated from having 3 boys, we're looking to get rid of that. So what we talked about is planning to sell this stuff and then use that to go on a vacation together. So we talked about what's a place that you guys would like to go on vacation, and let's put together, a little chart with a little thermometer. And so we haven't identified the location and the total amount of money yet, but we've started it with a few things just in the last week here of, okay, let's put this money towards a vacation. And so I was trying to, latch a positive future thing on top of let's go through our stuff and get rid of stuff, because now they're going to be more excited to decide, like, okay, I've got, I'm thinking like video games as an example. It's like, hey, would you want to get rid of this video game? They're like, well, I played that once 6 months ago. Now it's like, oh, but if that money could go towards a vacation that we're choosing. And then we also said too, that if we happen to, raise more money for that vacation, well, then that can go to something you purchase on the vacation, or, going to this thing that you want to do on the vacation. And so I think it changes their perspective about money, because now there's an opportunity cost. Like, I could have this game that I don't play, or I might play once in the next 3 months, or we could sell that and now go on a vacation together that we choose together. So I'm trying to work with them because, now they're old enough, they're understanding these concepts a little more, trying to, teach them some of these lessons.
I love that. Yeah. And the more involved you get them, they're just going to pick it up. And now when they go on that vacation, it's going to be like a really even better vacation because they worked for it. Like, they're participating in it. It's not just that they're passively going on vacation now. They're an active member of the family, and you gave them goals. And I think that's such a great idea. That's really cool.
I'll let you know how it goes. We'll see.
Yeah.
We're in like week 1 here. So it's the early optimistic phase, but at least the plans make sense to us. The plan makes sense to my wife, and the kids are excited about it. So we'll see. We'll see once school starts if their attention wanes, but who knows?
Yeah, but they're also at a good age where I feel like they're older now that they could really understand things. And when you're planning the trip too, just not having it so far away that it's like, okay, it's been like 6 months. Like, where are we going?
Right. Right. So we're shooting for, being in Minnesota, going somewhere in the winter where, okay. And then letting them know, like, yeah, we've got to buy plane tickets. We've got to book the hotel ahead of time. So let's see in the next, 2 months, what can we do here? So then we can have that vacation in the winter and get out of Minnesota in the snow. So
yeah, definitely let me know how it goes. I'm very curious to see how they keep up and stuff.
Real estate agents, are you tired of letting the busyness of your real estate business get in the way of your real estate investing goals and your financial future? I'm excited to announce that we've created the Real Freedom Investor Agent Tribe to help you. We've got a ton of content, educational tools to help accelerate your learning curve and get you on the right path to hit your investing goals. We also have a mastermind tribe of people just like you, agents that want to grow their own portfolio and encourage you and cheer you on along the way, as well as some private one-on-one coaching. So go to realfreedom.com, click on the store, you'll see the options there. We're so excited to be able to help you. I've priced it super low so price can't get in the way, but did want to have some skin in the game for you to help with that accountability. So go check it out, realfreedom.com, click on the store. We're excited to connect with you and excited for you to connect with your tribe of real estate agents, investing, trying to build their financial freedom. So how can folks learn more about you and what you're doing?
Yeah, you can go to investormama.com/connect, and you can find my all my social media handles are there. You can also go on Apple. You can also go on Apple, iTunes, or Amazon, Google Play, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Just go to Investor Mama, and definitely reach out to me. Would love to connect. And if you have any questions on investing or the mom side, or really anything real estate or business side related, shoot me a message, and I would love to learn more about your story and how I can help you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jen, for coming on and sharing. It's great to hear your perspective. Great to hear how your family is handling money, how you're having those conversations, and how your real estate journey has really helped to set up kind of a lot of your life and where it's at today. And so best of luck to you on the future, and excited to see where things go.
Yeah, Mike, thank you so much for having me on. It's been so great. And thank you for allowing me to share my story. And hopefully another mom out there hears it and is like, what is this real estate thing? And just a little light bulb. Like you said, just start asking questions and figure, how can I, instead of why not?
And you are in real estate too. We didn't really touch on that much.
Oh,
but,
yes.
You are an agent, so you can help people if they've got questions.